This is the SAU Report, a program featuring interviews with the faculty, staff, students, and alumni of Southern Arkansas University in Magnolia.
Welcome to this edition of the SAU Report. I'm Amanda Weber.
And I'm Cory Wages. Today our guest is Ceil Bridges, the Director of Alumni Relations. Ceil, tell us about your hometown.
I came to Magnolia about 24 years ago, so at one point Dallas, Texas was my hometown. That's where I graduated from high school and came to Southern Arkansas University, and I've remained here for the last 22 years. So I guess I would call Magnolia my hometown now.
Well, when did you realize that you wanted to live in Magnolia?
My freshman year at SAU, I was involved in a lot of activities on campus and everything, and I really grew close to the campus and everything, and I decided to stay here. I guess it was just being involved in SAU, Southern Arkansas University.
Being here when you were a student, was there a certain teacher that impacted you while you were here?
Being a theater major, I was Dr. Dan Skelton's secretary for a while here, and we just kind of developed a friendship, and he's steered me in the right directions and been there for me when I've needed him and everything. So I would have to say Dr. Skelton has had a big impact on my life.
Well, since you were a theater major, has theater impacted you on the daily things you do and how you communicate with others?
Theater is a wonderful major to have because you go through the speech classes and the communication classes and everything in order to get your degree in theater, and you learn to get up in front of people and talk, and you do plays and everything, and you learn how to problem solve through all that, and so theater has steered me in a direction that I've been able to use that major through everything I've done.
What were some of the plays that you were in while you were here?
I believe the first play, which was 20-something years ago, was You Can't Take It With You, and I had a small role in that. And then I was in some other plays on that I had bit parts in. And then my junior year, I was the lead role in a play called Louann Hampton Laverty Overlander, and it was about a cheerleader that grows up through life. And my roommate had a major role in it, and it was just a lot of fun students on campus, and that was just a wonderful play. But Louann Hampton Laverty Overlander is the one that I had the lead role in.
That's a mouthful right there.
Yeah.
When did you realize that you enjoyed SAU so much that you wanted to stay and pursue your career here?
Well, like I said, I was involved in the theater activities, and I was Miss SAU my freshman year, and so in order to have those benefits and everything, you had to stay. You had to get those in your sophomore year, since I was a freshman when I got Miss SAU, and so just having things that I could carry over into the next year helped make my decision to stay.
Was there any other things that basically impacted you here at SAU to further on in your life?
The challenges that you receive as a student, and just the learning that you get. I enjoyed all the teachers on campus. It's a real personal setting here at Southern Arkansas University. You know everybody knows you. The campus is small enough to walk everywhere, and just the whole personal atmosphere of the campus.
Well, speaking of Miss SAU, you were in that pageant. Has the SAU pageant changed drastically since you were in it?
Oh, definitely. Last year I emceed the Miss SAU pageant, and I noticed that the talent was a lot more competitive. The girls were more competitive, but then the scholarship that you receive being Miss SAU is a lot more than when I was Miss SAU. And you have to have a platform now, and when I was Miss SAU, you didn't.
Interesting.
In all your work that you do, how How do you incorporate it with your many talents?
Oh, I have to plan and implement, and you know, that's just a tool that you learn to use in everyday life. As you're, you know, as you go through college and everything, you have to plan and implement to do things. You have to learn how to delegate things out. If you have a roommate, each one of you realize what you need to do to make the relationship work. And I learned to definitely problem solve, or some tasks that you carry on while you're getting your major, as well as taking it into the workforce. So everything just kind of overlaps each other.
Right. Speaking of your many talents, I understand that you used to design clothes. So what kind of designs did you do?
When I was first married, I had a little store called My Daddy's Money, and I did hand personalizing, like it would say Ceil's cup, Dad's drink, and things like that. And I was just overwhelmed with it all, so I sold it, and I went to work for a dress shop here in town. And then little by little, people started calling me to resume my painting and everything. And I did some tile work for a family here in Magnolia, and which required me to buy 2 kilns because it was a very major project. And after I finished, I took some dish designs to Neiman Marcus, and they bought some. And from there, I went to the Horchow catalog with the T-shirt design, and they put it on the back cover, and they sold out. And so I went on to the Dallas market, and I had done some hand-painted things on some clothes. And back, you know, 15 years ago, that it was very popular. And so when I was at Dallas market, I sold $60,000 worth of clothes the first time I was there. And so we got home, hired a bunch of ladies to help paint, and because everything was hand done, and we were shipping to probably around 500 stores and everything. And it was just something that was very enjoyable. My designs have been on the TV show Designing Women and Evening Shade, and I was, like I said, I've been in the Horchow catalog 3 times, so that was a very interesting business endeavor that I did during those years.
So do you still do it just for extracurricular activities now? Every once in a while, just come out and start designing some different styles of clothes?
Well, every once in a while I'll do it, but I really like to keep it as a hobby. And because I painted for 10 years, 24/7, and back then there were no computers or anything like that to get your designs done on quickly, and so it was a lot different back then.
Well, how long did you design the clothes?
I designed for about 10 years. We painted, and and then hand-painted things just ran its course, and so I went back to school and finished my degree.
That's wonderful.
So you're the director of Alumni Relations right now. What's some of the specifics you do for that job?
Well, as the director of Alumni Relations, I feel like my goal is to bring as many alumni back to SAU as I can and have them involved in things and see exactly what our campus is doing now, and help them in any way I can, through all the technology that we have now, and help them and make them feel like they're a part of the SAU family too. Our major task that we do is homecoming. It takes a great amount of time and effort and everything to put it off, and that's approaching October the 19th.
Right.
And then we're in charge of the commencement dinner and getting all the graduates there, and we have distinguished alumni that my alumni board nominates, and a Lifetime Achievement Award winner, and 2 Golden Rider Distinguished Alumni Awards. But and then we do different gatherings in different cities and everything, just to keep the morale up with all the alumni and keep everybody interested in the campus.
What does your job entail?
I just started in July, and so it's a different way of looking at the alumni than it has been in the past. Right now, the alumni is doing a fundraiser, and they haven't done that in the past, but it's called Legacy Lane, and we've torn down, when the old armory was torn down, the alumni asked if we could have the bricks, because we wanted to preserve the past of SAU with all of our alumni. And so we're doing a lane in back of the Welcome Center that's called Legacy Lane, and everybody's having their name inscribed on a brick, and we put it down a lane that's going to go down to what's called, it's a little creek area, and we're going to do a Millennium Bridge that you can walk over and go onto the football stadium. And we're hoping to sell about 10,000 bricks at least, and that'll raise a lot of money for a lot of scholarships and the Reynolds Foundation building that we're building. And so that's one thing that's a big thing that my job entails now. And then, just like I said, homecoming, and we're wanting to start doing electronic newsletters. So we're having to get an updated list of all the email from the alumni, and that's causing us to backtrack and find lost alumni and everything. And so there's a lot that this job entails.
Wow, it sounds like it.
You just mentioned the bricks for Legacy Lane. If an alumni wanted to get a brick, and who would they contact? Would they contact you?
Correct. They would call the Alumni Association office, and we would take their order and order them a brick. The bricks, you can buy a brick, and it's 12 letters a line, and there's 3 lines per brick, and it's $125, and the $25 is the processing fee for cleaning the bricks and everything, and then the other 100, like I said, goes to the Reynolds Foundation for the $12.5 million building that we're going to build.
Wow. Well, speaking of the Legacy Lane and the Welcome Center being so far away, that takes a lot of bricks. Why is the Welcome Center so far away from the main campus of the school?
That is a good question. I think the administration wanted people, when they came to the university, to have a more personal entrance into the university, just that laid-back feeling and everything. And so, starting at the Welcome Center, having it a little bit out of the way off the campus, they can come in, sit down. We can show them a video of the campus and what all we do, and they can have a cup of coffee and visit, and then just get relaxed, and then we can take them on. Bring them by van onto the campus to where they can go to the specific areas that they want, instead of just driving here to campus and going somewhere and not really having an overall view of the whole campus.
Having to deal with the students and parking.
Exactly. There is no parking problem out at the Welcome Center.
Right.
You were the director of tutoring for a while. Did that help you prepare for your job now?
Definitely. I was tutor coordinator for the Upward Bound program, which is a federally funded program that we have on campus that brings high school kids to campus and gives them a chance to see what college life is like. And we hope, our goal is to bridge them from high school into college. So part of being the tutor coordinator is you have to have a certain grade point to stay in the program. And so I had to plan and implement a program that would keep the 100 high school students with a grade point average. So I had to hire tutors on campus, and then they had to tutor the kids, and we had to keep up and track their records and everything. So it was a major ordeal to plan and implement this program and make it stick, and I definitely think that has helped me with the alumni position over at the Welcome Center.
Well, with tutoring and being the director of alumni, it has to be, pretty different. How did they give you the position of director of alumni? How did you receive that position?
That's funny that you ask. I had first of all, some people contacted me that the position was open, that were, just in the town. They weren't on campus or anything. And the tutor coordinator, is, like I said, was the planning and implementing of it, that and I took those skills with me on into the tutor programming. But when you look at my background, like my clothes that I've done and everything, I've had to problem solve with that. It was very creative, and they wanted somebody creative. They wanted somebody with a business background, and although I'm theater major and English minor, I have been, 10 years of business as far as being with the shirts and everything. So I know how to put a plan together and follow it through and make it work. And that's the plan of the Alumni Center, is getting, keeping up with the alumni.
Perseverance.
Right.
So what would you say your goals would be? I mean, for like, I don't know, about 5 years from now. What are your future plans for this job later on? Is there anything you'd like to add or that you don't do yet?
Oh, definitely. Well, right now I'm working on my master's in counseling education, secondary ed, and I hope to go on and get my PhD. When I first started out, it was going to be in psychology and everything, because I had worked at a mental health center for 2.5 years, and I was really intrigued by that. But I've always been a PR type person, a public relations type person, and I enjoy visiting with people and everything, and that is what I love about this alumni job. And so right now I'm just doing the best that I can do for the university, since I have a very vested interest in it, and I really don't know what the future will hold.
Well, when the alumni call, and since you are the director and you speak to them most of the time, what's the most common question they ask?
Have I paid my alumni dues? that is their favorite question to ask, other than, and then when's homecoming, and what's going on right now. But since we have a website now, they can just click on that, and it's got a calendar of events of what we're doing, and it really keeps the alumni now up to date on everything.
Right.
You mentioned homecoming this year, so you'll have plans for that. What other plans do y'all have this year in particular?
Well, the homecoming theme is Follow the Blue and Gold Road, which is all directed towards the Legacy Lane. We've, on Friday nights, we have a Distinguished Alumni Dinner where we recognize some outstanding alumni from the university. Saturday morning is a Golden Rider Breakfast, and we recognize a Lifetime Achievement Award, and that's a faculty or staff member on campus that has really excelled in their field and everything. And Lewis Blanchard is our Lifetime Achievement Award this year. Then afterwards, we're going to go to the Welcome Center, since this is our first year with the Welcome Center, and we're going to have a ribbon cutting, and then we're going to have a hamburger cookout before the game, which is with a live band, and this is the first time that SAU has done that. And after the football game, all the alumni is invited back out to the Welcome Center for a fish fry that we're having catered from the old feed house. And another live band will be there to play throughout the evening and everything.
So you've got your hands full.
A lot of enthusiasm within the alumni right now, with everybody looking forward to homecoming.
Well, how's the attendance going to be? Have you had a lot of alumni say, yes, I will be there? Is a lot of people planning on attending? Yes, we have. This year we're recognizing the 1952 class, and we're recognizing the 1952 football team, and the 1972 football team is going to be in attendance. And so our numbers for the events are very high right now. And I hope so for the football game.
You mentioned Legacy Lane for a fundraiser. Are there any more fundraisers going on for the alumni? Are they putting on any more?
Right now, the alumni has been discussing some community service work, and if that goes over, we will be doing supporting the United Way campaign. I'm on the United Way committee, and we will work towards having a big tailgating party where the funds go to United Way for the November 2nd and 9th game.
Speaking of the sports and how you're having a lot of activities for the alumni, do a lot of alumni really travel a lot to come to the sports activities and everything?
I think in the past, our figures have grown. Where the football team has, we've had some good football teams in the past that have gotten all the enthusiasm up for the alumni. And so right now, yes, they do seem to be traveling to come in for the games.
Great.
What do you say the best asset of being Director of Alumni Relations would be?
Well, since I'm a people person, I've just so enjoyed visiting with all the older alumni, and you really can find out a history of the college, listening to them and everything. I had a man that was just in my office today that had done some reports on some veterans that were killed in World War II, and I was reading those, and that was a very interesting interesting article that he had to share. And so it's just listening to the history of SAU, and each person has their own interpretation of SAU because of what their environment was when they were here.
Yeah, speaking of everything that you've been doing, it sounds like you're a very busy woman. What other organizations are you involved in?
Well, like I said, I'm on the United Way Committee. I help out with the Central Baptist Church Children's Choir, and I'm cheerleader coach out here at Southern Arkansas University. I have a sophomore out here. I have a senior in high school, and she's a cheerleader, so I attend all those functions. And my husband is a basketball coach, so I try to go to all his home games. So
very busy.
Quite busy.
How has cheerleading changed since you were here?
Cheerleading is a very competitive sport, and Southern Arkansas University is trying to have a cheerleading team that is competitive and can make a name for themselves. We've never been a competitive cheerleading team before, but this year I have a lot of cheerleaders that come from different areas that have been on successful teams, and I have some All-Americans, and so there's a lot to look forward to in the future of the SAU cheerleaders.
With you being so busy, what made you decide to become the cheerleading sponsor?
I was asked, and it was before I was asked to take over the cheerleaders because the cheerleading coach left. Her and her husband moved to Texas, and this is when I had the tutor coordinating job, and I had a lot more time with that job. So it has been a challenge to stay up with the cheerleaders and try to give them what they need, and so that they can keep pursuing their goals of becoming a successful cheerleading team. Right. But after homecoming, I think it's all going to work out. Everything will fall into place.
Everything will be downhill from there.
Right.
You say you have some All-American cheerleaders. What does that entail, I guess, be my question.
Well, in high school, they had to, when they went to camp, they tried out in front of judges and everything, and so they had to be able to there was a criteria that you had to meet, like standing back flips. It may have been your stunts that you did, and whether you were a base or a flyer, what your extension was and everything, and just in your spirit, your facial expressions and enthusiasm. So, we should be very happy that we have some of those on the team.
Speaking of the cheerleaders, are they wanting to pursue their competition this year, or are they just wanting to get everything slowly this year, it being your first year to be the cheerleading sponsor?
No, they are keeping me going. They're prodding me to take everything to competition, and I'm very proud of them for that.
Great.
You say competition. Where are there competitions at? I mean, are they here in Arkansas or where?
I believe there's a smaller one in Little Rock. I'm not sure of the exact date, but when we went to the Southern SMU camp in Dallas, the cheerleading team qualified for one that's in Florida, and it's in April, so we're definitely looking into that.
Well, Silver, we want to thank you for being on this edition of the SAU Report.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm Cory Wages.
And I'm Amanda Weber.
Thank you for watching.
The SAU Report is a production of broadcast journalism students in the Department of Theater and Mass Communication at Southern Arkansas University in Magnolia.